Today, this evening, starts the Yurtzeit, the first memorial for the beautiful six, the six hostages, including Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, Ori Danino, Almog Sarusi, Alex Lobanov, Carmel Gad, and Eden Yerushalmi. And may their memories be a blessing. And it will be starting tonight until tomorrow. And the timing just happens to work out that right now is when that begins. And so I just wanted to start out by dedicating our learning together as a community and the light that this space is in their memories so that us being together is bringing their light into the world today. And so I'm very grateful to be with all of you and being able to do that today. For those of you who are here to learn with Naama for the first time, yay, I am very, very glad for you that you're here. We come together every Monday.
Thank you, Ariela. Good to see everyone. Um, when I'm pinned, I'm like, oh my gosh, my hair. You see, anyhow, fixed. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you. Good morning. Um, we are starting another week together, and it's so great to start it together. I really need it, so I'm happy that you're here to just kind of like take a moment to pay attention to our inner world and to everything that is moving so fast outside, but also inside, and to find ways to find an ogen, find an anchor that is not a stuck anchor, but like a flexible anchor, and to find a way to just deal with life. The more you mature, at least in my experience, the more you're like, wow, life is actually insane. It's so much that needs to happen. And how do we deal with it? Um, and we have tools, Baruch Hashem, and the tools that I'm bringing here, especially as we're really working with Jewish time. So with this special time, um, Elul, which is coming right around the corner, and the high holidays are a special time for us to kind of like um, ease out of grief and use the energy of grief to open our heart and to connect also to other sources that open our heart to renewal. And last week, every week we take one sentence, right? So every week we just check in with ourselves, which we're going to do in a moment. We're speaking about the metaphors that lead us here in this learning. And we're learning one sentence, which is going to be our anchor for the week. And last week we spoke about En tikun sheba betchiya lema sheyesh. If we want to heal, it cannot come from rejection of reality, from rejection of ourselves. That is not a stable place to start the tikkun from, the healing from. And really, that is the first stop. The first step is really the acceptance, just to be willing to see reality. Oh, it is what it is. This is what it is. And again, it's not that we're not going to do any healing. It's not that we're not going to do anything, but it's just, first of all, to acknowledge what is and to acknowledge ourselves. Um, so let's start with a little bit of just check in. It might be a really lovely day for some people and a really hard day for others. For some, the Yahrzeit of Hirsch might be like really harsh for others. Maybe there's just something happening in your own private life. So what we're doing when we're checking in is just asking, what's moving in me today? What's going on for me today? Just like take a moment to just be intimate with yourself. The writing is an intimate process. So we're able to just take a moment to just be intimate with ourselves. What's going on for us this morning? How are we doing? Sometimes we don't have the time or we just don't get ourselves to sit down and do it, to just check in with ourselves. And the way a good friend will ask, how are you doing? Really, really interested. So just to pay attention what's going on, and I usually just do it as an automated writing, just like writing. No stopping, just writing whatever comes up. And that's a way for me to be with myself and also to just take everything that is running and put it on the paper so that I have space to go into our work together. So we'll take a minute or two, and I'll call us back here. So just what's moving in me this morning? What's going on for me? Okay, we'll take a few more seconds and we'll wrap up. Okay. Oh, sorry. I know it's really hot in a lot of places, but in Berkeley it's very cold, even in the summer. So, um, okay. We started speaking last week a little bit about the electricity in the brain, and it really kind of like, I don't know, I was thinking a lot about it this week. I was really also going back to this mantra of like, "En tikun sheba b'tchiya," we can't heal from rejection. And just a quick reminder that when we started speaking about the anchors, we were speaking about maybe from this little boat, which is our life, we're throwing like little anchors into the ocean and they're connecting until they're creating this beautiful network and kind of like stabilizes us in times of storminess. We also spoke about the metaphor of the beans throwing their shoots up and building a sanctuary. And still, since we started speaking about it, my bean really grew a lot. And now I have a lot of beans and they're very yummy and we're eating them. And there is just something amazing when you are able to pay attention to growth, and to the another small piece and another small piece. And, every time, like last week, we went away for the weekend for a wedding. And by the time we came back, I saw all these beans that were longer, but you don't see it in the everyday. But when you don't look for 3 days, you see that they grew. So in a way, this is our anchors, another small action and another small action, and then turning in to see what resonates, and then another small action, another stitch, and another stitch. This is what Yemima called um, avodah beretzef, that you work with a continuity. And I think this was like probably when we lived in times when we lived more in communities and more close to the ground and to the earth, women would sit together to do these work that was not like the crafts were not just like for fun. It was like you actually needed, socks and pants and all these things, and it will be like a stitch after a stitch after a stitch. And there's something, of course, very technical about it, but there's also something deep about this kind of work. And Yemima says this is also the work to do inside us, in the soul. I want to do something a little different than we're usually doing today. I'm going to read to you a longer piece of Yemima, and I'm I'm not going to read it as slow as we usually do in Yemima classes when we dictate, because this is a short class, but I want to just read it to let the words go through your body, and I want you to just catch whatever words that resonate with you most. We do it sometimes, it's called blackout poetry. You just kind of like choose the words that you heard, and these are the words you need to hear today. And sometimes people hear like the wrong word, or because of my pronunciation, they think it's a different word, but that's also the right word. So no worries about that. And my thought today with the sentence that we're going to work with for the week is, how do we do that work of cleaning our electricity as we're coming closer to Rosh Hashanah, where it's the big download of the year, right? We can really kind of like download the new um, clearance or the new clarity that we want for our soul for this year. So how do we clean our electricity? How do we get ready for that time by cleaning the electricity? Yemima really, really taught that spiritual and psychological work are really just intervened. It's not separate. For us to be able to really connect to the divine and to our purpose and clarity, we really just need to start with balancing and grounding our nefesh. Um, so, so the electricity in Yemima's language is what sometimes I think today in modern psychology people call the brain paths, right? To just kind of like decide consciously What is it that we're trying to do more of? What is it that we're trying to do a stitch, another stitch and another stitch of, and kind of like strengthen that path? And what is it that we're really trying to be aware of to tag when we see it so that we don't get on that train and strengthen that path? So basically, of course, we can't control these processes, and Yemima also didn't think that we can control them, but she said we can definitely be conscious of them, and that cleans that electricity. And so I'm gonna just do a little bit of reading and just hear it as like a massage to to your soul. I'm gonna read a lot, but I just because they're so beautiful, the parts that she gave for Elul, it's really hard for me now to give all of it. But I just want to read it and choose the words, and then I'm gonna give our sentence for today. The resilience in order to not be changed in the face of everything that changes before you. When the heart is turbulent with much excess sensitivity, this is Hevel Havalim, futility of futilities for the heart, that flights for its life. Heightened sensitivity is not easy to carry, but if you were not very sensitive, you wouldn't be here. You have a wondrous heart, so be activated until you learn not to be activated at all. Sensitive, but not activated. For there is a heightened sensitivity that blocks you, and there is sensitivity that you need to use. When the heart is nourished by existential warmth, sensitivity to your aliveness, this is a warm emotion towards existence and life, towards the world, humans, the Holy Blessed One. When we hold that sensitivity towards ourselves, action is not tense, is not coming from within tension. Action is subtle and precise. I see crying. Get it out. You're allowed. You're allowed to make mistakes all the time until you decide to repair. Your diuk, your precision, will be to accept yourself with the errors until you're more centered. I know it hurts, so cry. Crying is not a weakness. When there is an emotion towards you, your emotion towards yourself, it will burst the coating, increase the consciousness that strengthens you. You will know how to make the diuk, the precision towards your thoughts, to accept it. It will be strengthened and accepted. This is what is said. No need to strain. We don't struggle to heal. Struggle separately. Melacha, the healing work, separately. I'm going to stop here. There's many more beautiful things. I'll share some more next week, but I would love it for now. If people are willing to just echo back to us in the chat, what are words that resonate with them, that touch them today, this morning? These words to me are so beautiful. I can hear it all the time. I'm so happy when the new year is coming back. I mean, I'm so happy when the time just goes on all the time, because to go back to the Chalakim of Elul is just so beautiful. And every year it's deepens. And then to go back to the Chalakim of Purim, and then to go back to the Chalakim of Pesach. It's just like, it's not that you can read it one time. It really is like poetry. And I am reading here what touched you this morning. Sensitivity without activation. Sensitivity. Sensitivity without activation. Tears will burst. Coding. Wondrous heart. Resilience, sensitivity. Sensitivity is not a mistake. Accept yourself with errors. So cry. Crying, existential warmth. Sensitive but not activated. Cry is okay. Not be changed by all that changes. Resilience, change, turbulence, sensitivity, saddle, precise action, make mistakes, accept yourself. I realize usually we have here a whole poetry that now it's not a swag, but it's like definitely ready for like a poetry book by SVIVAH, by SVIVAH's people. Diuk, crying, invitation, and not judgment felt, separation, heightened sensitivity, self-acceptance, and acceptance of others being just as they are. Beautiful. Thank you so much for your words. So here's the sentence I chose for us for this week to walk with. I'm going to put it in the chat box and I'm going to talk about it a little bit. So the sentence is in the Hebrew, הדיוק הוא לקבל את עצמי בין שתי התנועות של הנפש, בין חוסר האונים לבחירה. דיוק, and I think many times we spoke here about diuk, and there are many ways to understand diuk, and I think people asked about diuk, and diuk is connected to exactly that work of cleaning the electricity. So I wanted to bring to us something from diuk. After I did the acceptance, right, and I'm not rejecting reality anymore, how do I do the cleaning? How do I work with that reality that is like, might really activate me? I work with it with diuk. What is diuk? So one of the ways Yemima speaks about diuk is to accept ourselves between the two movements of the mind, powerlessness and choice. Oh, I see here that I added another sentence that I wrote to myself, but you're welcome to, this is not Yemima anymore. The question that really rose for me when I read this sentence was, is stability the constant, or is change the constant? And I want to just talk about it a little bit. So in my other hat, I work with public schools, and public schools that are trying to adapt to different challenges coming with climate change in California. And, you know, in some places it's more heat, in some places it's more flat, and it's different in different schools. But the adaptation is needed in many, many places. And why am I telling you about this? Because it's a really big question when you start working with organizations. How do you change things? And it really depends on how you understand the baseline. Is the baseline stability? Is the school like really set in its ways and now you just need to come and change these ways and then it will be different? Or, as I believe is more correct, the school, an organization, or any kind of like coordinated work of people is constantly changing. The same way the inner life of people constantly changes. There's so much work done to keep stability. So actually the constant is change. Actually, all the time things are changing and people maintain stability with a lot of work. So in the case of schools, it will be like, we keep the schedule, we keep all these structures that actually keep the stability. The moment we'll take them off, change will be the main baseline. Change will be what's the undercurrent of everything. I'm saying that because it really changes how you intervene to lead change. If change is the basis, then you want to see what is keeping the stability, what is keeping things set in their ways, and to intervene there rather than trying to change the stable thing. I hope it makes sense what I'm saying, but I want to take it now back to diuk. If we understand that sometimes when we're feeling so stable, it's actually stuckness. It's actually us maintaining all the time something that we called it in the back in the past, the need for security. It's possible that we feel a very deep sense of powerlessness, and it's easy to feel powerless, definitely in our times, right? It feels like I can't control what's happening. I can't control what's going on. The sense of powerlessness sometimes makes us create a lot of mechanisms to maintain stability. so that we feel that we're okay. What Yemima says here, the diuk, the cleaning of the electricity, is to pay attention. Do I work now from a sense of powerlessness? No judgment. It's fine. I might have oversensitivity and I'm feeling really activated and I'm trying to, make myself feel calm. So it's not a problem, but like just Yemima says, open your inner eyes to try to understand and see what's going on here. Is this coming from a powerlessness or is it coming from choice? It sometimes will look very similar, but is it coming from powerlessness or is it coming from choice? And diuk is really our ability to go back to choice and to choose to turn towards ourselves, even in the time of powerlessness, and to work all the time from small choices. Basically, to create the stability or the balance by choosing and choosing and choosing and choosing again and again and again. That clears the electricity inside because we're not feeling like pushed by powerlessness again and again, but we're able slowly, slowly to do more choices. Now, it's possible that today I'm doing 80% of my choices, maybe even unconsciously from powerlessness, and 20% of choice. And tomorrow I'll do 25% of choice, and maybe then I can increase it to 30%. But Yemima says, increase the diuk stitch by stitch. Conquer another 5 minutes of your day with choice. And choice, again, I'm really not saying here anything about overwhelming choices, huge choices. I'm saying the choice between these two things, the choice between, um, first of all, the ability to see, do I feel now that I'm in a powerlessness or in choice? It feels very different in the body. I think for me, powerlessness feels like very kind of like it takes away my power, and choice is like, okay, feels different in the body. So that's one thing to just identify. And then the diuk is also to, even if I feel now in powerlessness, the second part of the diuk, right, is always to turn back to myself with warmth rather than judge. So these are the tiny little choices that we have. These are the tiny little choices that we have. We can have the choice to, first of all, open our eyes to see, is it powerlessness or is it choice? And then we have the choice to say, in this situation, whatever it is, do I turn towards myself or do I judge myself? And to always choose as much as possible the turning towards yourself. And sometimes I will make mistake and I'll judge. And then Yemima says it's okay. And you will make mistakes until you'll be able to repair. It's not a problem. Mistakes are part of the way. And if you need to cry it out, cry it out. And then just we're going forward and we're then weaving the diuk and weaving the diuk. And it will create exactly the right tapestry. So I feel that I was maybe a little abstract more than usual today with all my speaking about electricity, but hopefully um, it resonated with something somewhere on our shared journey towards Elul and the high holidays. So I'm just gonna copy this again. Um, so we're now a week away from Rosh Chodesh Elul, from the new moon of Elul, which means we're 5 weeks away from Rosh Hashanah. Um, and yeah, so I hope this can be, sorry, this can be one key for us to open up to the Chagim and to the opportunities that they bring for us. So again, last week we were saying to start with just being open to reality. And today we took another step with when we see reality, what are two distinctions we can make right away, seeing whether we are in a place of powerlessness or in a place of choice, and then paying attention when we turn to ourselves. Do we turn to ourselves with judgment and rejection, or with acceptance and warmth? Um, and I put here the sentence again, and I would love to hear from you as we're about to close. What is something from all these things, and it can be like really very, very small, preferably very small. What is something that you are taking with you for the week from these teachings? What is one anchor, one shoot that works for you for this week? Beautiful. Thank you so much. You know, change is the constant, is because it's the undercurrent. This is God. God is energy, and our soul is energy. Of course, it all the time changes and moves in the most basic way. And our work is kind of like, you know, electricity is just there. It's not that we decide what electricity is, but we can navigate it. We can build the circuits for it, to the ways for it to go, and that's the work that we do with the diuk. Okay, right. Choice. Thank you so much. That's very beautiful. Um, no, not that I know. Um, but you know, God is called sometimes El Shaddai, the one who feeds, right? I think there's something very, you know, breast milk is like El Shaddai. It's like there's some flow there. What other names? Havaya, Havaya, you know, just like being. There's something there. And all the, at least, I guess, I mean, from what I know, I feel it's true, but also from what I know, you know, the whole um, description or the whole imagination of the Kabbalists about God is like that it's a movement within the tree of the Sfirot. It's like the energy always moves. It never stops and ceases from moving. And that's, to be a little philosophical, like actually a very beautiful thing I think about Jewish way of understanding God, that there is like the transcendental part that is like, you know, maybe more um, stable, but there's also the part that communicates with us, and that is through the Sfirot, and that's our way also to communicate, tefillah, right? To pray. We have the ability to be in movement and to go up and down the ladder and to work with the energy. And I feel, at least for me, that sometimes I just want stability so much, what Yemima calls security, that you want to just reject that movement. And what Yemima teaches with the diuk is like you can do that movement in the pace that you can do it. Just pay attention that there's all the time dichotomies and you have choice, and they can be very small. Um, so with that, we'll close, and we do have two technical questions, and then we'll open it for, I think we'll have time for one or two insights.